When you hear the word assessment, what's the first thing that comes to mind? If you're like most teachers, it's probably grading. And that makes sense. Grading is built into every part of our school systems. Assessment, however, is broader. It's really about supporting students as they learn and about giving you and your students information about where they are on their learning journey. Grading, on the other hand, is how we communicate with students and parents and administrators. What's tricky about grading is that it often signals the end of learning, a final judgment. But in NGSS-aligned classrooms, learning happens through the messy, in-progress work of figuring things out. And that means students need to feel safe sharing ideas they're still uncertain about. Because this kind of learning depends on intellectual risk-taking. Students have to be willing to share and revise and refine their thinking. And if grading sends the message that only polished correct answers matter, we risk shutting that process down. That's why assessments, and any grades that are tied to them, need to communicate something different. That student ideas are valuable because they can grow. We also know grading systems are part of your reality. They vary across districts and schools and even across the hall. That's why OpenSciEd doesn't tell you exactly how to grade. What OpenSciEd does do is help identify moments for assessment. Every lesson has opportunities for gathering evidence of learning. Some of those might become grading opportunities, but they're all learning opportunities first. So when we are thinking about what and how to grade, we want to consider two questions. What are your grades communicating? And how does the way you're grading align with the way you're teaching? Take this example. A student shares an initial model that isn't quite right, but it shows how they're thinking. In a traditional system, that might earn a low score, which communicates to this student that correct answers are valued, even when you're just starting to learn. But this doesn't align with how learning happens in OpenSciEd. Penalizing early thinking discourages risk-taking and reinforces a right answer mindset, oversharing our uncertain or in-progress ideas that help us figure something out. Consider another example. What if the only assessments students experience during a unit are simple recall tasks, like identifying and ordering all the parts of the digestive system? These kinds of assessments communicate to students that science is about memorizing vocabulary and that success comes from repeating the right words, not from making sense of the world. This undermines the type of reasoning and sense-making that we want to see in NGSS-aligned instruction. Grading will always be part of our work, but how we grade and what those grades communicate is something we can shape. Even within the systems we're in, we can make choices that support the kind of learning we believe in. So as you plan your next unit or reflect on your current practice, ask yourself, are my grading practices making space for uncertainty, growth, and figuring things out? Are they aligned with the kind of learning I want for my students? Because in an OpenSciEd classroom, grades shouldn't be the end of learning. They should be part of how we support it. Check out the rest of our assessment videos and resources for tips on how to start making these shifts in your classroom.